Well, hi everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Missed some of you at the family camp. For some of you who will watch this message, it's going to sound a little duplicative because you heard this while we were all together in Lakeside. But I will say it was great to see everyone at family camp. It did feel like a little family reunion. Got to see some people I haven't seen in months and just got some hugs, real legit hugs. It was just good to see everyone. So I hope you're doing well. With that, let's dive into tonight's message. Have you seen the movie Aladdin, or have you read the story of Aladdin? And do you remember the Cave of Wonders? Just this cave that was filled with all of this treasure, rubies and gold. And there was one particular item that was kind of the pinnacle of the treasure, right? It was the most valuable. And you probably know, if you know the story, that it was the lamp, right? And you probably know the reason why it was so valuable is that it was a magic lamp. So if you rubbed the lamp, the genie popped out and gave you 3 wishes, right? And you could wish for anything you wanted. You couldn't wish for a million other wishes. And I think there were a few other rules, but for most part, you could wish for anything you wanted. And I think that just kind of pulls at our heart, like, wow, how awesome would that be? Well, I have a lamp, okay? It's one that I took on the family camp trip. Check this out, all right? Consider this like lamp 2.0, right? Okay? Now, it's easier to start. It's a little more modern, uses modern fuel and things like that. But unfortunately, the manufacturers, you only get 1 wish, okay? You don't get 3, all right? And you can't wish for a billion more wishes, all right? So I want you to think about the lamp and, what would you wish for? If you had 1 wish, if this truly was, right now I'm gonna wish. If you truly had 1 wish, what would you wish for? I want you to think about that. Now, the analogy here is not quite right. While the genie and Aladdin may share some of the attributes of God, he wasn't God. Even though he was all-powerful, and that's an attribute of God, the genie was not God. In fact, he was far from God. We serve God. God doesn't serve us. It's not the other way around there. However, my point is that if you were given the opportunity to rub that lamp and have 1 wish, what would it be? And there's a character in the Bible who was given this opportunity, and God came to him in a dream and asked, "What do you want? Ask, and I will give it to you." And you probably know that this was Solomon, King Solomon, David's son and successor. And my next question for you is, well, what did he ask for? And many of you probably know, well, he asked for wisdom. Yes, in 1 Kings chapter 3, he asks for wisdom. More specifically, he asks for an understanding heart. In some versions, I think it says discernment. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like I need a discerning heart or understanding heart more than ever these days. Seems like over the last year and a half that I constantly feel like, man, I need wisdom, right? I need that understanding heart. I really pray for it and yearn for it. And I'm guessing that many of you are doing that too, because there's just so much chaos and confusion in the world today, in our own country, in our own valley. And so I can't help but just kind of yearn for wisdom. So what is true wisdom? Before we dive into that, let's talk about what it is not. First, true wisdom is not from the world. It's not from the ground up. Okay? Rather, it comes from God. It comes from the heavens down. Second, knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. Knowledge involves having the facts and figures, the information, maybe even the experiences. Having the info, right? That's knowledge. While wisdom is the right or godly use or application of all those facts, figures, information, and experiences. Let me give you an example. Is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? Okay, well, some may say fruit, some may say vegetables, but botanically speaking, they are considered a fruit. They're a ripened flower and they contain seeds. So they're a fruit. Okay, you can be mad at me if you really feel like it's a vegetable, but it's a fruit. So if it's a fruit, we should throw it in a fruit salad, right? No, right? No, that would be totally gross. We would not throw tomatoes in our fruit salad. So it would just taste bad, right? It'd be gross. You see, we have the knowledge that it is actually a fruit, but we don't make a mistake by throwing it in a fruit salad, okay? The knowledge shows that it's a fruit, but the application is the wisdom. So what does the Bible say about true wisdom? Well, wisdom appears quite a bit in the Bible, but today we'll focus on one section in the book of James, chapter 3, and then we'll back it up with some other verses. So let's read James chapter 3, verses 13 through 18. True wisdom comes from God. If you are wise and understand God's ways, prove it by living an honorable life, doing good works with the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you are bitterly jealous and there is selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth with boasting and lying. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind. But the wisdom from above is first of all pure. It is also peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. It is full of mercy and good deeds. It shows no favoritism and is always sincere. And those who are peacemakers will plant seeds of peace and reap a harvest of righteousness. So now there's a tremendous amount of material in these verses. My guess is we could spend hours unpacking them, studying them, and learning how to apply them. Dare I say, as a sinful man, as sinners, we could even misinterpret those verses and overly complicate them. Are you like me in that I say I want to keep things simple, but then I don't, and I always overcomplicate them? If you would have seen me on the family camp this past week, I showed up with a trailer that was just filled to the gills with toys and boats and motorcycles and all kinds of fun stuff. My wife's just shaking her head like, oh my gosh, what else are you going to do? I'm just going on a simple camping trip, but I can't keep it simple. I just can't help myself. I think we're all, I shouldn't say all of us, but I think a lot of us are like that. There's a tremendous amount in James chapter 3, and it's all very important. But let's boil things down. Let's simplify it. Let's go back to Proverbs, often called the book of wisdom. And who else would have written it but Solomon and a couple of buddies? It gives us very clear direction on how to start on our search for true wisdom. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the foundation of true knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. So fear of the Lord is the beginning of true wisdom. That's the foundation. And I think some people, perhaps many people, struggle with the word fear in this verse. We know that we have a loving God. So in our modern language, in our modern use of the word fear, with its implications of scary, dangerous things or things to be avoided, we need to unpack that word of fear. Modern use doesn't quite encompass the meaning. It means we are to honor and respect God It means we're to live in in the awe of his awesomeness, the awe of his power. And it also means that we're to obey his word. Okay, so if we fear, honor, respect the Lord, if that's the beginning of true wisdom, that's the foundation, then what's next? Well, just a few chapters later in Proverbs, we come to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, which many of you probably know by heart. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. And two things stick out here with this verse for me. The first is trust. We have to trust in the Lord. The second is we have to do so with all, like caps, all, underscore, double, underline, bold, flashing, whatever, all our hearts. Not just part of it. Not just the easy part, not just the comfortable part, not just the convenient part, but all of our hearts. And you may be sitting here right now thinking, but Spence, you don't understand. Let me explain this to you. I do honor and respect and fear the Lord, but I do trust the Lord, but I do follow the Lord, but with so many buts, one could easily become a but. So seriously though, we have to write these words of Proverbs on our hearts and with all our hearts, not just part of it. It's all or nothing, folks. Let's turn back to James for some proof in this. And I'm going to read James chapter 1, verses 5 through 8. James chapter 1, 5 through 8. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. Now this is the kicker. But when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is as unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they are unstable in everything they do. Now, I love the imagery in James in those verses. I love, especially when we had been at the coast recently, the idea of an unsettled wave out there just being blown around by the wind in any which way, any direction. We can't be like that. We have to be committed to the Lord. We can't have it both ways. Let our faith in God be the controlling principle for our understanding of the world, our attitudes, and our actions. Trust in God, folks. He will make you truly wise, but you have to be willing to ask, and you have to do so with a pure and undivided heart. And I want to encourage you to start today. Ask for an understanding heart. Ask for discernment. Ask for wisdom. Bust out your Bibles and read James. Back it up by reading the Proverbs. In fact, there's 31 Proverbs, and I know we're already kind of mid-month here, but there's 31 Proverbs. You can start today by reading a proverb a day. Tomorrow's the 10th, so I don't know when you're going to watch this, but you could read Proverbs 10 tomorrow. One proverb a day. Let's commit to that. I hope this is encouraging to you. If you're like me and you're really yearning for wisdom, I think you can start today by reading Proverbs, reading James, and I hope you do so. Thank you, and God bless.